Bill, thank you so much for your time today. EY are definitely leading the charge in transformation. You talked at length about digital change and convergence. Do you see technology as an enabler for workforce mobilisation?
Yeah, absolutely. Technology is critical to what we do in our workforce at EY. We need the devices, we need the applications to keep people connected. And you've got to remember that most of our people work outside the office, right? So they need to stay connected, and many of them work in locations that are isolated. And then they need to stay connected to the office, but they also need to stay connected to each other. Need to be able to collaborate, share knowledge, do what they need to do functionally, whether it's submit a timesheet when they're off site, or check in with somebody about some knowledge, or ask them a question about something they need to know for an assignment, for example. So it's absolutely critical we get that 24 hours by 7, actually.
And you've also got staff working on customer premises.
Yeah, absolutely.
So they're all mobilised as well.
Yeah, so most of our people actually would work outside the office with our clients. So they need to be connected, again, continually. And in many instances, they need to pick up, for example, real-time training content. So if they're sitting in an assignment, need to know something about supply chain or supply chain tax, they can go online, check it out, get the answer, and continue their work. So it's absolutely critical.
And I heard you give your own example today about a cyber safety breach that affected you personally. How do you see EY reacting to these cyber safety threats that are affecting business today?
Yeah, no, it's my own experience was actually quite surprising to me. I had no idea what was going on a high street in Sydney at a bank branch to think about and get robbed, basically, or get skimmed, was quite shocking. I didn't think it would actually happen to me. And it's happening more and more often, as we know now, to different people. When I shared my example with others, they said, "Oh, that's happened to me too." And the way they did it was amazing. I wasn't sure whether they skimmed me at the teller or whether they picked up my data from my card in my wallet as they passed me by on the street. So it can happen so easily now. And for those individuals to go in and check in my bank account first to see if there's any money there, I thought was a nice thing to do for those. And of course there was, and they took that money. But the unique thing that I thought was that the bank didn't recognize early enough in that process. So over a 6-day period, I think they should have probably picked it up maybe on day one to prevent the identity theft, but they didn't do that. So I think where we're seeing the opportunity for our organizations to help organizations, particularly around identity management and identity theft, because you have to do that first if you're going to have a breach of security, either personally or through your organization.
And what are you doing to protect data within EY?
Yeah, well, data for us, as you know, is absolutely critical for us. And what we do with our IP, we actually have so much client data on our premises based in digital forms and paperwork forms. So we have very strenuous policies in place around how we email, for example, how we talk about our clients, what we do with that data, our file management systems, how we convert files to digital, and the security around that is absolutely critical for us.
What do you see as the key technology trend for 2015?
Yeah, I think ultimately it's going to be robotics, intelligence and automation. I think you're going to see a huge shift from machine-based robotics to intelligent robotics that will take over the driving of cars, for example. So automation of cars, driverless vehicles is going to be a huge thing, because they reckon that will address massive insurance issues. It'll stop accidents on our roads, but it'll also have a negative effect in terms of Uber, for example, being an amazing organization, $40 billion organization. What it does as a service is really cool, really functional and really effective. But on the other hand, people are saying, well, actually, it's causing unemployment amongst taxi drivers. So you got to get the balance right about how you adopt and embrace this technology going forward.
And Uber is a classic example of digital disruption, what we're seeing in the market.
Yeah.
I mean, are you seeing that with your clients, and what are you saying to them about digital disruption?
Well, disruption is massive, and the thing we're saying to our clients now is that it's actually happening quicker and more quickly on a daily basis now, and that this disruption is not going to go away. So they need to think about it, they need to embrace it, and they need to think about how their strategy needs to change around purpose going forward to really embrace digital technology.
Yeah. And I know that you're an expert in organisational change, and you've done a lot of that. Where have you seen really successful examples of workforce mobilisation?
Yeah, there's lots of examples going around, particularly in those organisations that have more of a nomadic workforce. So airlines, for example, organizations where you have a lot of salespeople who need to be on the road and out of the office. It's very critical for those organizations to keep people connected, whether it's by email through the devices. But what we're seeing mostly is that the actual mobile phone now is turning into a supercomputer.
Yeah.
So they reckon most people will actually have a supercomputer in their pocket by 2020, which is incredible. And we'll see that the phone will be used not for calling people, but for the exchange of information, for the use of apps, and the use of technology. So the example I gave in my presentation today, for example, was using my phone as a device, as a remote control for the Uber car.
And what is your personal device of choice? Would it be your laptop, your mobile, or your tablet?
No, it's definitely my mobile.